Hi everyone, Pam Gregory, astrologer. I'm going to be speaking to you today about the chart for the Aries Equinox. Now, many of you may be aware that over the last few years, I've always done this with my good friend David Farrell, who is shaman and plant medicine expert. We do this together normally 4 times a year at solstices and equinoxes. Um, if you don't know already, to let you know that David has had a really terrible fall about 3 days ago. And apparently he fell about 12 feet. He was on his own when this happened, unfortunately. He fell about 12 feet. He landed on his feet, and the bones in his feet have shattered, particularly his heels. He's in an immense amount of pain. This is going to require surgery on both feet. Obviously, he can't move, he can't stand, he can't walk. And I think up to now, his Mexican neighbors have been looking after him. His partner is arriving back today from a trip, which is very good news. He's taken medical advice, and I think they're still doing x-rays and scans, but inevitably this is going to involve some very expensive surgery, and this is going to take some time to recover from. So this is not a scam. It's completely legitimate. In fact, astonishingly, David was even able to send me an email yesterday, although he's obviously in terrific pain. So I will include the link below. So if you have been touched in any way by David's videos with me, his teaching, you've taken courses with him, if you're aware of him in any way, and you're able to, you might consider sending a donation for the medical expenses, but also send him healing. There's a photograph included in that link, so you can, if you don't know him and you're willing to send healing, you can do that. But it's it's a pretty bad accident, so I just wanted to let you know that. So I'm going to be doing this one on my own today, but please send lots and lots of love to he and his partner Bella. Thank you so much for that. So today, I'm talking about the Aries equinox, but just to say that this is really signaling an incredibly powerful period from the equinox. Then we have a lunar eclipse in Libra on the 25th of the month. We then have that super powerful total solar eclipse going across America, northeast to southwest, the eclipse path on the 8th of April, and then we have that very important Jupiter-Uranus conjunction on the 20th. But please know, for all of those, they are not just one day. I mean, the Aries equinox is really setting up the backdrop for the next 12 months, because it's the beginning of our astrological new year, if you like, when the sun enters Aries at 0 of Aries. So none of them are just for a day. They have an expanded orb of influence of time. And so this whole period is building, building, building in energy. So I think on one level, it's certainly going to be very turbulent as things break down. It is at another level quite exhilarating, very fast moving, and a period for sure of our accelerated evolution as humanity. So it's going to be quite a ride. And interestingly, this is the very first solstice or equinox when we have had Pluto in Aquarius for about the last 240 years. So what that will do as well is really say from this point on, and we know that Pluto is going to stay in Aquarius for 20 years anyway, apart from that short dip, 2nd of September to 19th of November this year, back into late Capricorn. It is very much emphasizing all of the themes that Pluto in Aquarius is about. It's about freedom, human rights, truth, greater equality. It's about technology, innovation of all kinds, scientific advances, new discoveries about the cosmos. It's about anti-elitism, a whole new socioeconomic and political structure beginning slowly at this time, because it's a very long transit. And this Aries equinox, as I say, is really just sounding a gong, like sounding a tuning fork the backdrop, the first layer of paint on the canvas for the next 12 months. So let us take a look at that, this chart for the Aries equinox. So hopefully you can see that. Here we have our sun at 0 of Aries. It's literally just entered Aries at 3:09 UK time. So therefore, please adjust for your own location. Ignore the clock face, ignore the houses. We're just looking at the signs that the planets are falling in and their aspects to each other. Now, it's very interesting that if we're looking at our traditional planets, apart from the moon, which we know is very fast moving, all of the planets are super concentrated in Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, and Taurus. So they're going to be concentrated in about 4 houses in your own birth chart. So see which 4 houses they are, because they're going to be very activated, super activated over the next year. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can download a free birth chart from my website. Go to the link below. You can get a 2-part video series that will take you from 0 to explain the orientation of your birth chart and what each of the updates I do mean for you. This is not your own birth chart analysis. These are teaching videos. Okay, so we have a cluster of conjunctions, really. And one of the first things to mention is we have this pretty tight opposition between Pluto and the moon. And whenever you get hard aspects between Pluto and the moon, it brings up intense, extreme feelings, even if they're not in water signs, intense, extreme feelings and emotions. So what are those feelings and emotions likely to be about? Well, again, I believe they're about issues around sovereignty, because Leo is one of the signs along with Aries. And by the way, the moon is in a very nice trine here to Aries, a very supportive trine. Aries and Leo are the 2 signs that are most linked to sovereignty. That sense of inner power, inner authority, the I amness, I know who I am. Leo is proud, it stands in high integrity, can be quite dramatic. But this is going to set up quite a lot of tension this year, because it is still, Pluto may represent this power over, this top-down control over those things, but nevertheless, it is no longer in Capricorn here, it's in Aquarius. So this is signaling that we are starting to shift towards a sense, however it appears on the nightly news, of underlying the nightly news is this gradual shift of power to the people. As you know, this won't be handed to us on a plate, but this greater sense of equability and stronger sovereignty starting to come into society. But we have to step into that as individuals. As I say, individually or collectively, that's not going to be handed to us on a plate. Now, also here we have the sun conjunct the dwarf planet Manwë at 2 of Aries. And Manwë, you might remember from the creation myth with his wife Vada, they were said to create our original universe, our original cosmos. Manwë is the highest archangel, closest to the mind of God, a brilliant intelligence in the universe. And this is very propitious, I think, that at this Aries equinox, this is such a big signal of a new beginning. Manwë's been hovering, you know, these dwarf planets, apart from Sedna, have round about a 300-year orbit. And Manwë has been hovering around this Aries point, 0, 1 degrees, now 2 degrees of Aries, of the creation of new Earth. Manwë is a very strong symbol for the creation of new Earth. We also have the sun in an out of sign conjunction to Neptune. And this brings in, divine feminine, a very soft side, a spirituality, a sense of connecting to oneness, connecting to source, a sense of healing energy, much greater psychic sensitivity, and a much greater sense of multidimensionality because of the expanded consciousness so many of us are feeling, because of the expanded consciousness. And that's something I'm going to be coming back to later in this video, which is very exciting, I think. Now, another important conjunction here is Venus and Saturn, 10 and 12 degrees of Pisces. And again, see where this falls in your chart, because if this particularly 10 degrees of Pisces is falling in your 5th house or your 7th house of relationships, the way this could manifest is that you're having a bit of a reality check, Saturn, Venus, reality check on relationships. Less romantic, more pragmatic. Is this relationship an honest expression of yourself, or has one of you grown beyond that? It's very objective. However, this can be very good for consolidating a long-term relationship. I mean, I remember getting married with this conjunction. I was married for 19 years, so it can really consolidate something which turns into a long-term relationship. It doesn't have to be challenging at all. It's just very pragmatic, very objective in terms of, is this relationship right for now? An honest expression of me. This may work in a different way, that we are in some way restructuring our finances, or there's some sense of introspection around our finances. And it can work in a behavioral sense, that there's a sense of, again, introspection, a sense of melancholy sometimes with this. Saturn, Neptune, it wants to pull in. It's less outgoing. It's protective of that extreme sensitivity of Pisces. Yes, there's quite a strong sense of sadness even, or emotional reserve with that. So we'll see how that plays out in the world. And each individual, of course, may have a different experience with this. Now, although this is still very wide, this conjunction between Saturn and Neptune, and would not at this point be considered a real conjunction, it starts to become a very tight conjunction from about March next year. March, June, July, August, and then it's absolutely exact to the minute in February 2026. Now, I spoke in the last update about the example of the Berlin Wall, because the last time we had this conjunction was in November 1989, exactly almost to the minute when the Berlin Wall came down. And that was the literal, if you listen to the update I did, because I was in Berlin at the time and saw this and bought a piece of rock, this was a literal dissolution of the old order, dissolution of the wall. Literally, Saturn is walls, boundaries, fences, etc. And how this represents for us a grounded idealism, or making real the dream, which at that time it absolutely was. That saw the beginning of the collapse of the communist bloc. However, another aspect of this, which is linked to other aspects of the chart, is this is virtual reality. Virtual Neptune in Pisces particularly is linked to video and film and the illusion. Saturn is reality, that's the 3D tangibility. And if we look at something like Apple has very recently in February this year released its Apple Vision Pro, which is a new virtual reality headset. These are going to be very big in 2024. And to quote from the website, they are blending the digital and physical world content with these headsets, blending the digital and physical world content, these headsets. Now, reinforcing all of that virtual reality AI, we have Pluto in Aquarius. I've talked a great deal about new technology in this sense. And also, of course, we have Uranus in Taurus. This is heightened senses using the digital. Taurus is very connected to our physical senses, sight, sound, smell, whatever. And Uranus is accessing those in a digital way. So we've got reinforcements for these very important themes going forwards in 2024. And these are going to be huge, I think, obviously, particularly with young people. And adding to that theme, apparently there's a website called Sora, I believe, SORA. I believe that's owned by OpenAI. And I don't know if it's fully launched yet, but it's soon to be. And what they can do, it's an app as I understand it, and what it can do is to take sentences of text and turn them into video. Just literally a few sentences of text, turn them into realistic videos. Again, another expression of what I'm seeing here with virtual reality. Space computing is going to be very big, where in our homes, as we enter every room, there could be a screen that's being projected from your computer. So we have this bigger sense of a all-encompassing digital reality in our world. Whatever you think about that, that's going to be very strong this year and ongoing. So certainly much more blending digital with human and physical experience. And it will be very big with young people. Aquarius and Uranus are linked to youth as well. So all of this expanding innovation, technology, we could see jumps in the way aviation works, I think, in a big way. All these things I've talked about with Pluto and Aquarius. I'll put the link for my Pluto and Aquarius video below. Galactic connections, greater unfolding of the truth for sure. Also more unstable geomagnetics. We're in a particularly powerful phase because we know that solar 25 is peaking now, early in 2024. You can follow all of these on spaceweather.com, all the solar flares that have been coming in. And boy, we have been having some very big X-class flares recently too. And these really are ingredients for our evolution. There was a wonderful phrase from somebody I know, well, I don't know him, but I follow him on social media, called Jason Esters. And he talked about solar flares as stem cells for your soul. Stem cells for your soul, which I think is a beautiful, beautiful expression. Ingredients for our evolution. And those I really sense are going to get stronger, particularly around April. Particularly with that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus, because Jupiter expands the unstable geomagnetics of Uranus. Moving on now to the North Node, still in Aries. It stays in Aries until next January, when it backs up into Pisces. And this is continuing to bring in, for the collective, this strong sense of we need to be in our courage, in our strength, become more self-sufficient, stronger sense of sovereignty, stronger sense of I am, stronger sense of living in the moment. Aries energy is very, very good at being in the moment, being very present. And of course, this is very resonant with dragon energy. In Chinese astrology, you have the year of the wood dragon. And although I don't know a great deal about Chinese astrology, I know it operates to the 12-year Jupiter cycle, and the dragon is strong, the dragon is sovereign, and very powerful. So this is the kind of energy that we are being called to step into. Sun in Aries, North Node in Aries, and also Mercury and Chiron very tightly conjunct to that North Node too. And so this is about, individually and collectively, we are very aware of either our sickness, our wounding, or where we have lived in victim consciousness. I've talked about that a lot in the last few videos. Chiron in Aries, particularly wounded in the I am. It's a great potential for healing at this time, but in order to heal, we have to recognize the source of the sickness. We have to recognize the source of the sickness. So because Mercury is here too, There will be a lot of discussion, I think, around the source of any illness, a lot of discussion around any victim consciousness, a lot of talk about that. And Mercury, the importance of getting the facts right. But also quite assertive talk, I would say, quite assertive talk about these things too. So that is all part of feeding into this whole theme of truth. I'd also be very careful on social media with this. Aries energy can be quite impulsive, impetuous. Words can heal, but words can also hurt. So be very, take a breath before you say anything, particularly anything assertive on social media. The other aspects I'd like to point out here, well, certainly Jupiter conjunct Uranus is a huge one here. I've got a whole video on that. I'll put the link for that below because that's there's so much to say about this, and this is now technically operational as a conjunction. They are now together as a conjunction, and they will be exact, as I say, on April 20th, but this could be a really significant, on one level, yes, it could be disruptive at the 3D level, but this is a really big, potentially jump in consciousness, or the beginning of a series of jumps in consciousness as we move forwards. Really important. Another important reminder for you is that Pluto here is in an out of sign trine to Sedna. If Sedna was just tipping into Gemini, which it will again very soon, you could see that more easily. It's a long-term trine to Sedna. And that will continue because they both have very long orbits. Sedna's orbit is, in fact, 11,400 years. So that will continue all of 2024 and 2025. And this is about a whole death and rebirth process. It's about deep transformation, but it goes beyond transformation into a total metamorphosis for humanity. And in my conversations with Nancy Rebecca, she really confirmed that word of this is a metamorphosis for humanity. This isn't just any kind of gradual evolution. This is a big jump. And I think what reinforces that again is this long-term square. In fact, this is absolutely exact to the minute at the Aries Equinox, which is very interesting, this square from Pluto to Haumea. Absolutely exact to the minute. 139 of Scorpio, 139 of Aquarius. That will continue all of this year and all of next too, because again, they have a similar length of orbit. Now, in other videos, I've mentioned that because Haumea, I mean, they're both about transformation here, but Haumea, you will remember in the myth and her fire goddess expression, was said to birth the 8 islands of Hawaii. She is an incredibly regenerative creative principle. And so I'd mentioned, partly also reinforced by Saturn conjunct Neptune in Pisces, ancient structures under the sea, that we could well start to see the resurgence of some giant structures coming up from the sea, whether that is mountains, whether it is ancient cities or temples or buildings or whatever. I think there's a lot more to come with this. And in the last update, I put a link because a gigantic mountain range has just been discovered only in the last couple of weeks, just off the coast of Chile. And what is exciting about that, and again, I kind of anticipated this with Haumea symbolism, is that there are many new species that are being discovered on that underwater mountain range, because that has been an incredibly fertile environment to allow new species to thrive. And so this is so on the money with Haumea's symbolism of that she was able, even from desolate land and desolate seas that had been polluted and badly treated, not well looked after in terms of husbandry, she was always able to summon with her majestic Hermaculae wild food from the land and the seas and regenerate it. So there's this very strong sense of regeneration and new species certainly being discovered in this underwater mountain range being discovered. I'll put the link for that below this video again, actually, so it's easy for you to find. That's very exciting. I think we're going to see a lot more of that to come. And this is new Earth. I mean, not only do we literally have Uranus in Taurus, literally new Earth, but Homer is very much linked to that as well. Now, this got very interesting on a little kind of exploration I went on, and this starts to go a little beyond the astrology, but then I'm going to bring it back to the astrology, because Homer, in its lineage, is very linked still to Hawaii. In the myth, she's linked to the Hawaiian goddess of fertility. That's another aspect of her mythology. And I'm going to stop sharing here, actually. And my very good friend, astrologer Heather Ensworth, has, I think, 3 times now interviewed a wonderful chap called Keone Hanalei, who is literally carrying on the lineage. His whole family lineage is linked to the mythology of Homer, living on Hawaii, living on Maui, I believe. And he has talked about in great detail the culture and the spiritual heritage of Homer. And it's really rich, actually. So really suggest you listen to some of those interviews. I'll put the last one, the link below. But that, and Keone, as I understand, is certainly talking about the last 20 years that he's aware of in those interviews with Heather. But by chance, because these things happen by chance, don't they? Somebody sent me a video just yesterday from Lee Carroll. And many of you will know Lee Carroll, who for many, many years has channeled a being called Cryon. He's very well known. And over the years, kind of on and off, I've followed some of his work. Anyway, in this video, he was talking about Lemuria, and that Lemuria was very much based on Hawaii, which I believe Keone refers to as well. And in this video, and I'll put the link for that below, this is the Cryon video, that in the channelings from Cryon was saying that the Lemurians actually came from the Pleiades. Now, take of this what resonates, because we're going to get into some channeling content here, and just leave the rest. But this electrified me, actually, that Lemurians were actually descended from the Pleiadians, these very loving beings. In fact, Lemuria, as I understand it, was probably the most perfect civilization we ever had on Earth. They lived a lot of the time in their light body. They were connected to the Earth by this silver thread. They lived in a state of oneness with all of nature. They treated nature as sacred. They revered everything. They couldn't possibly hurt another living being because everything was one. Beautiful, beautiful. So very much divine feminine energy. And again, Cryon talks about Lemuria being based on Hawaii, but then spreading out to Easter Island, to somewhere in the Indian Ocean, close to the Maldives, to New Zealand, around Australia, and also Mount Shasta. And this is certainly in terms of the energy of Lemuria, which is very loving, very fine, very beautiful. So as well as being a place, and as well as being living beings, as well as being a culture with a strong spiritual heritage, also it appears to be a frequency very connected to love. And Then in this same video, Lee Carroll's partner that he works with, a lady called Monica Murani, was talking about, and she channels Alcazar. She was getting the same information, but also she had her own channeling, which was very much about originally we as beings on Earth, way, way back, before 200,000 years ago, had apparently 24 chromosomes. And this channeling was reinforced by her discovering a book by Greg Braden, who I know we all know. He's a massive thought leader, very much respected. And in his book, Human by Design, and I hadn't read this book, but Monica was quoting from it, Greg Braden, in all of his work, has talked repeatedly about we were not descended from apes. There was a big jump in human evolution round about 200,000 years ago. And Monica was getting very excited because this was the same information she was getting in her channeling, that 200,000 years ago, the jump in human evolution came as a result of one of our chromosomes being altered. So we originally had 24 chromosomes around about 200,000 years ago. One of them, chromosome number 2, was altered. It was 2 chromosomes were spliced together. 2 telomeres, like ends of a shoelace, telomeres were spliced together. So we then became beings with 23 chromosomes. And that at the time, 200,000 years ago, produced the new human at that time. And what that did was create a larger brain size, greater empathy, more memory. So that was a big evolutionary jump. What is happening now, and this is happening, this is coming through channeling from Cryon and Alcazar and other people who are channeling these beings, all saying the same, that because we have now raised our consciousness enough as humanity, we are activating that spliced 23rd, the number 2 chromosome, to become 24 chromosomes again. And the 24th chromosome is multi-dimensional. It is multi-dimensional. Because we have expanded our consciousness sufficiently as humanity, it is activating that spliced chromosome to produce or remember the 24th chromosome, which is multi-dimensional, connected to the stars, connected to our galactic heritage and galactic beings, particularly the Pleiadians, who are very loving. So this gets, I think, incredibly exciting. And again, in this video, Cryon was channeling live, and he asked what the purpose was of our reconnection back to this Lemurian frequency. And the purpose of it is to connect us back to our original divinity. Our original divinity. Now, I was just absolutely fizzing yesterday when I was listening to this, because I was seeing all this through the astrological lens of Pluto, Sedna, Haumea. Pluto square to Haumea. Haumea is actually in a quincunx to Sedna, slightly out of orb at the moment, but they're coming into operation within a few months this year. That is a very powerful promise of jump in consciousness, expanded consciousness, multidimensionality, and metamorphosis for humanity. And so this is another, what I love is kind of taking threads or taking information from all over the place, from people I respect, whether it be channelers, whether it be geologists and thought leaders such as Greg Braden, looking at the astrology and decoding that and putting it all together and saying, yeah, absolutely, we are on the brink this year of entering this reconnection to our original divinity, an expanded consciousness, a greater sense of multidimensionality, a reconnection to our galactic family in a really major way. And I think that some land, going back to what I was saying earlier, I think more land or buildings or temples or something, they are going to continue to emerge from the sea with all of the earth shifts we're going to be experiencing this year, and reveal a lot about that, not just in terms of physical structures, but in some way also reconnect us to that frequency, reconnect us to love, reconnect us to oneness, reconnect us to the sacredness of all life, reconnect us to the divinity in every living being. So it's impossible to hurt another living being. It's impossible to have war. It's impossible to have that kind of polarity and separation and division that we've lived through so densely in this lifetime and many lifetimes. Is the beginning, I believe, profoundly of the turning point for humanity. So do what you will with that. Some of you may be into channeling, some not. And I'll put all of these links below. And please don't forget David Farrell. He's in a really bad way. And please don't forget to send healing to him, send a donation if you're able to. This is a very legitimate, extreme crisis for him. And please send your love. The more of us that do that, the faster he's going to heal. God bless. Thank you for staying with me through this meander. God bless. Be back very soon. Have a wonderful Aries Equinox. Don't forget to set your new intention for what you want to experience for the next 12 months. Bye for now.